Tonight on our special timed WrestleMan with a podcast episode, we are going to talk about AJ Styles pulling a Mark Henry from 2013, 11 years ago, and faking his own retirement. He'd be so proud. Don't trust people in light colored suits, kids. Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio's interesting storyline and how compelling that has been. We will discuss that. And also the tension between Gable and the Alpha Academy, specifically Gable and Otis, and maybe a potential feud of the year right there. Plus, Roman Reigns is rumored to return in July, apparently, to set up for SummerSlam. So we will be discussing that. Plus, we got the latest in terms of Chad Gable and Becky Lynch's contracts, which are expiring soon. Becky's, I believe, expired last weekend. So we got a lot to talk about tonight. Let's get into it.
Welcome to WrestleMan with the podcast. I'm Dylan Shields. We talk Raw, SmackDown, wrestling news, and some fun top lists. With that being said, ring the bell.
Alrighty here. So it's just going to be me this week. No Matt, no Troy, no other guests. However, next week I will be back in Pittsburgh because obviously right here I'm at my apartment at Millersville University. I am heading back to Pittsburgh for a few graduations, including my own sister's. And what I'm really hoping to do next week, since I'll be closer to Matt and Troy, and maybe even my cousin Dominic, who's also a wrestling fan, I am really hoping to do an in-person predictions for Clash at the Castle, because I believe that would be an awesome video to do, but that'll be TBD, to be determined. Also want to apologize for the crappy audio quality I had last week, and Matt and Troy pointed it out and acknowledged it. And from my perspective, I can't hear that. Like, I don't know until I go to editing or watching it when I hear that my voice sounds bad. It's happened a few times. I think it was because I either unplugged something or a plug was loose. So that's why I just sounded very echoey. So knock on wood right now that I sound normal and good. I promise I'll try my best to not make that mistake again. But yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that to you guys here. But got an exciting episode here. Let's get the banner up. And as always, let's get the PowerPoint back up. And we're already on episode number 13, which is usually an unlucky number, but hopefully that's not the case this week. Layeth the smack talk here. And the one thing I wanted to acknowledge before we get into SmackDown and Raw is, I hate to say it, but SmackDown has kind of been lacking recently. I mean, obviously, there have been killers about injuries, and we'll discuss that more, obviously, on Ring Discoveries, but obviously, Roman's out. Now, Orton apparently is injured. So they're kind of limited right now on SmackDown. But I think Raw right now is the much better show as a whole, like with the Judgment Day stuff and the Gable stuff and the Morgan stuff. I just feel like they got better stories. I feel like the most interesting things right now on SmackDown, honestly, the only things that pique an interest to me is whatever Cody's doing. Like the Styles stuff was cool. And then the Bloodline stuff. Besides that, it's a whole lot of meh to me on SmackDown. And I could tell probably the executives of Fox are like, hey, like, when's Roman coming back? Because we need him back on Fox to juice some things up a little bit. Same with like The Rock. Like, they probably want The Rock back. So, but hopefully by SummerSlam, these shows will get better. I'm not saying they're terrible. They're not like 2018, 2019 levels of bad. But like, I could tell they're lacking a little bit, and Raw's kind of got the more stacked roster. But anyway, we might as well talk about this AJ Styles fake retirement. And here's the thing: the crowd, I can't tell if they actually fell for this or if they were just playing along with it for the viewers, maybe. I mean, Raw and SmackDown crowds tend to be more casual viewers, families. They're not exactly hardcore fans, because it'll be hard for me to believe if there was any hardcore fans that actually believe Styles was going to retire. I don't think there were any rumors about it. I know him and Nick Aldis had like a few segments. Styles was like desperate for a championship match. Aldis wouldn't give it to him. And then Styles started like teasing retirement. But I think the difference is that Mark Henry's was actually rumored. Like, it was like speculated the day of that, like, he's actually going to retire. So it was kind of shocking when he turned on Cena. And even then at the time, I think a lot of people weren't falling for it. But that doesn't mean it was bad. I hate when a great thing happens like this and people are like, oh, it wasn't as good as Henry's. It's like, first of all, no shit, it wasn't as good because the sequel's never is as good as the first time. But that doesn't make the sequel any less bad in WWE that they did it. Even if like I especially didn't fall for it, and I don't think any of my friends fell for it or people I know from wrestling. I don't think many hardcore fans fell for it, but like it was still a well done segment with the club and Styles getting emotional and then Cody coming out. Cody was kind of like the Cena in the Henry feud as the top champion. And then Styles wearing a light blue suit. I would have just laughed if he just flat out came with a pink suit like Henry. Then it would have just been very obvious. But hey, like I said at the beginning, don't trust people with light colored suits. If you ever see someone retire and they're wearing like brightly dressed suit, they're not retiring. So, and I even think Mark Henry acknowledged it. He's like, I'm so proud of him. And I think he said one day we have to exchange shoots or like have a picture with each other in it. So it's just amazing. And now apparently Mark Henry, I think his AEW contract expired. So I think he might be going back to WWE. So I would love like a segment between them, Mark Henry being like, I'm so proud of you, man, for doing that. But I mean, my only like gripe is just how they've been booking Styles. Before the Backlash match, they gave him a few wins, but then he lost to Cody, and then he randomly lost to Orton in a great match, but at the King of the Ring tournament, and he hasn't had a match since. I just wish if he's going to go after Cody that he would get a little built up from this, some wins, but it feels like since Clash at the Castle's a week and a half from now, they're just going to announce it, which is fine. And Styles is kind of bulletproof to me where he can take as many losses and still stay relevant. And also it seems like the club is like heel to Gallows and Anderson because they were kind of treading water too randomly as baby faces, even when Styles turned heel when he returned last year. So I like that I guess we're getting the club back. Like I love the OG 2016 club when they beat up John Cena. So it was pretty cool to see that. Also, too, Styles wasn't gonna come back as jacked as he did and only wrestle for a few months and randomly retire. I mean, but I love how this gets heat on Styles. They've been doing a tremendous job. I was a little disappointed after the Backlash match that we didn't get a rematch. Felt like the Logan Paul thing was just a one-off because Logan wanted to work with Cody really bad, and he's big in Saudi Arabia. So I'm happy they're going back to this feud. And I'm hoping it kind of extends past Clash at the Castle. Maybe they could come up with a screwy finish or something to protect AJ. Because I'd like Money in the Bank for it to blow off there. And Cody can ultimately like defeat Styles. But I like that they're extending this feud. Because before Backlash, they had like a few weeks of build and that's it. Now we got a legitimate rivalry between them. And I think we're leaning because they've teased it on backstage segments. I think we're getting Cody Orton at SummerSlam. And I'm all for that. I know people are saying it's a Mania match. The fact that we're getting it at all is incredible. It's really weird. Styles always seems to be the guy after WrestleMania when big baby faces win the championship. I believe Roman back in like 2016, he was like the first challenger. And then like Seth in 2019, he was the first. And now Cody, he's the first. And Orton, if this is going to happen at SummerSlam, it seems like he's always the guy that challenges for a big babyface champion at SummerSlam because he challenged Kofi back in 2019 and he challenged Drew. So this is like his third time doing this. So Orton and Styles seem to be reliable contenders for championships normally. But fantastic segment. I'm so happy we're going to get another match. I don't know if Scotland's going to top France in terms of crowd work, but holy shit, man. Cody versus Styles in like international places. I'm all for it. Keep it up, man. As long as they still build Styles strong and like protect him a little bit. Cody's obviously, I don't think, going to lose anytime soon. but still, they can develop a legit rivalry. That'd be incredible. Speaking of rivalries, Kevin Owens and Paul Heyman had a segment. Beforehand, Solo and Heyman were kind of backstage. I love this. I just loved Heyman's character arc ever since after WrestleMania, just basically being trapped in this new bloodline. And Heyman basically telling Solo, like, when he was like acknowledging, like, when Roman was the leader, like, we even had to do like security checks or like checking on guys. And we had to like not let some guys in the bloodline because who knows? And now Solo's like letting in dangerous guys, and Heyman acknowledged that, and how Solo's out of control, and how Roman always had a strategy when they planned for the bloodline, while Solo doesn't have a strategy. It was just cool stuff. And then Owens interrupted, called out Heyman, and Heyman came out saying how, like, even though Roman and Owens had a blood feud, Roman always respected him, but Solo and this new bloodline doesn't. I love how Owens doesn't fall for it, because Heyman always seems to be that snake that tries to reel you in and get you to like support him or love him and then stab you in the back. So I appreciate, even if Heyman really does sound genuine, that Owens isn't falling for it. He's like, you're just going to get the next cash grab now that Roman's not champion. And so them came out, tried to attack KO, and the Street Profits helped out, and then had a pretty good match with the Bloodline winning. I know a lot of people were saying, I think it was Tonga who has a weird like flatliner finisher. People were saying it's a little bit weak. I mean, I don't mind it because it's something different, but I understand the criticisms. It's just weird how him and Tonga Loa have been really pushed like this quickly because it's the new bloodline. Again, I'm just counting down the days to Jacob Fatu. It's got to happen in these next few months, man, because he is legit. Once you guys see him, I've seen his work and his promos. It's amazing. But yeah, the bloodline won. I think we're going to get at Cardiff, either at Cardiff or maybe Money in the Bank, a 6-man tag with Owens and the Street Profits versus the Bloodline. I don't think the Bloodline's losing for a while, at least till Roman comes back, which I appreciate, because after how kind of poorly Solo was booked before WrestleMania, they've booked him and the Bloodline really good and like a strong threat. And I know I'm doing like SummerSlam predictions already. I think we're going to get, since they're putting so much stuff on Solo, I think we're finally going to get that Roman Solo encounter at SummerSlam since Roman's coming back. And I'm all in for that because they've been teasing that for like almost 2 years now. The other stuff, I mean, like I said, like I talked about the two biggest things on SmackDown, Nia Jax celebrating her Queen of the Ring, calling Bayley out. And then Bayley got attacked by Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, and Niven's the next challenger. And then they were talking trash to Nia Jax, and Nia Jax basically like thwarted them off, didn't care. And good for Niven. I think she's at least from the UK. I think she might be Scottish. I don't exactly remember, but the crowd might be pro her against Bayley. I'm not sure if I really see her winning, but it's good for her that she's getting the spotlight. I've also always liked Chelsea's work as like the cowardly, like always like, I guess, kind of jobber type woman. But to have her attached to Piper Niven has been a pretty cool addition to them. And she could cut a hell of a promo too. So I appreciate that. And again, at SummerSlam, I feel like Nia Jax is going to be a future champion. I really feel like whether it's at SummerSlam or they do it somewhere else, feel like she's going to win the title. Because ever since she came back last year, she's kind of been getting championship matches, but on the wrong side of them. So I feel like they're going to finally give her moment. And I'll give her props. She's not my favorite. I do think she could be a bit overhated at times. And I think they've booked her very well. I think her promos have been 10 times better. So I definitely see her as a future world champion. Other things, Ciampa defeated Theory. I mean, Theory and Waller, I don't even know if they've even defended their tag titles since they won them at Mania. And it feels like they're going to defend against DIY. I mean, I kind of just want DIY to win the titles because I don't know how much more Theory and Waller can do as champions that much. And I'd be more interested to see in a DIY thing. And then Andrade tried to I think it was Angel Garza tried to recruit him into Legado. He declined, but he kind of got help from him to defeat Apollo Crews. So we're kind of still teasing that stuff a little bit. I don't want to say filler, but it's just not stuff that interests me too much. I'll try to invest in it, but it's a little tough too. It is. And then Logan Paul, I don't even think was there. I think LA Knight challenged him last week, I believe, to a match. I hope they save it for SummerSlam because I really think that's where ultimately he should get dethrone Logan Paul. I wish he showed up a little bit more because I know he's the longest reigning U.S. champion, but he's defended it twice or three times. And I thought he had a contract where he's going to show up a little bit more, but I guess maybe he's still a part-timer. He probably only does the Big Four and Saudi shows, and that's it. But I hope we get to see his presence on SmackDown because they kind of need it right now, in my opinion. They need some star power with Logan showing up. In terms of Raw rundown, as I talked about earlier with me thinking Raw's done a lot better than SmackDown, just look at my slide. If you guys don't see it, if you're listening, it's got almost 10 freaking things to talk about here. Won't take too long, but the big storyline, basically Raw has been the Judgment Day show for a while, and last night was no different. It seems like there's a lot of interweaving stories, and it all reflects on the Judgment Day. Liv Morgan, I love how I put this seduces Dominic because it's basically what she kind of has been doing and did. And just the way she manipulates him and stuff with Dominic saying, "Mommy's going to kill you." And Liv's that's fine because Mommy's going to kill you too. I mean, I have a feeling Dominic's in on this, and this is an alliance. And then Finn interrupted and said, "Liv, what are you doing?" and stuff. And Liv was stroking Dominic's hair. And Dominic's got that stash. I love it. But yeah, it's been very intriguing. I've said this about Dominic, how I was frustrated that he didn't get a Mania match to the last minute against Rey Mysterio and Andrade for no reason. Lost, which I feel like him and Santos needed to win that more. He's injured, but he's in an interesting storyline. And before that, he was losing to Ricochet and random guys on Raw. So I'm happy they finally have him in a main event level storyline with Liv, and then when Rhea comes back. So this has been some of the more intriguing stuff I've seen. And I'm happy that they're also giving Liv a storyline like this in her manipulative ways. And I have great faith that her reign this time is going to be a lot better. Even if she ultimately falls to Rhea when she comes back, I think it's going to be much better than her SmackDown reign 2 years ago. But very excited all around. The Judgment Day stuff's been amazing. Kaiser attacked Sheamus's leg before the match, and then Kaiser rolled him up and upset him, which I low-key like. I think Kaiser's kind of an underrated talent. I've liked his mic work. He just exudes heat. He just has that arrogance to him. I don't know about world champion, but I could definitely see, especially now that Gunther's going after the world title, if he can win the Intercontinental title maybe, and Gunther wins the world title, and you get a part of Imperium holding most of the gold, that'd be pretty cool. So good stuff there. Finn Balor finally getting a win over the returning Dragon Lee, who I don't think we've seen in a while. And I think they had to play a video package for it. And it's all that just to lose to Finn. But I'm happy that Finn finally got a win. And then Strowman and Mysterio helped him out when they tried to attack Dragon after the match. I love the visual of Strowman, big ass Strowman, and small little Ray running to the ring. That's just a weird duo there. Would be interesting to see them hold tag team gold, honestly. Speaking of Strowman, he beat McDonough in 2 seconds. Poor JD. But then they attacked him after the match and his leg. And then when Strowman tried to go after Dominic after just punching a chair, Liv Morgan came out. And Strowman's just what am I going to do about this? I would have loved to see Strowman just run her over, but he's not going to do that to a woman. So he just walked off. Again, Liv Morgan just protecting her man and pissing Rhea off even more. Braun Breaker and Ricochet had a great match, man. Braun Breaker's been killing it these past few weeks. Breaker did like a hurricane rod off the top rope and a tremendous spear to win, which was just freaking incredible, man. And I think Breaker teased going after the Intercontinental title, so I'm definitely all in for that. Seems like we're finally going to get, after me bitching and moaning about Breaker fighting jobbers, feels like he's finally presented and fighting actual main roster guys. So it seems like the push is on for Braun Breaker. Kiana James defeated Natalya. Good for her. I've liked Kiana's work. Natalya, honestly, I don't care for her. It's no disrespect to her, but good for Kiana. Bianca and Jade defended the tag titles against Shayna and Zoe when Fire and Dawn interfered in the match. And it's weird because I thought Shayna and Zoe Starks were baby faces. I guess not anymore because they were involved in attacking Bianca and Jade. So we might be getting like a triple threat tag title match, maybe. It's just a shame that these women's tag titles can never have a legit story because it's just like from one tag team to the next, we're just bouncing who they're defending against. I'd like to see a legit story for Bianca and Jade to defend rather than just them defending all the time. Like that's what we want out of these women's tag titles is storylines, not just random ass like defenses and random ass attacks and random teams. So I'm hoping they try to fix that a little bit. I hope Bianca and Jade have potential as champions. Jey Uso wants the Money in the Bank briefcase. So it seems like he's going to most likely qualify for that ladder match, which makes sense. I like that they're giving guys like Jay and guys who probably aren't going to be in Scotland something to at least do or say. And I would be all in for Jay holding the Money in the Bank briefcase, man. I feel like he needs a world title at some point if he's going to be main event Jey Uso. Seems like we're getting a reunion with the Bloodline soon, with Jimmy, and Roman coming back soon. But we'll see. I could definitely see the new Bloodline costing Jay in that match, but I wouldn't mind if you wanted it. AOP beating the New Day in like 2 minutes. Karrion's work has been a lot better since after WrestleMania, and this New Day stuff is interesting. I think they teased them breaking up. I don't think they're going to break up. I don't want them to break up at all. Especially with Big E out, it just wouldn't feel right with them just breaking up. But I've enjoyed this faction. Seems like they're kind of finally on the up and up after Mania. But then the main event, Damian Priest versus Rey Mysterio, had some sloppy spots a little bit. I think Rey did like a drop kick, and Damian has to usually go in the ropes for the 619, but he had to like crawl to it. But overall, a pretty good match. Priest with the win. I think he even kicked out a Rey's finisher, which is good for Priest to do that. And then Drew came out, attacked Priest, and thwarted off Judgment Day. And then as he was going to put Damian through the table, I love this character stuff. Drew basically said, Michael Cole, want to call me a hypocrite, huh? Because he's been pissed at Cole for like months. But he got distracted. Again, Drew has learned nothing from WrestleMania. He keeps getting distracted by outside people because Damian chokeslammed him through a table, and they stood tall at the end. And I'm going to talk more about this when we get to our predictions for next week for the pay-per-view. Because I think back when we predicted WrestleMania, it was kind of set in stone, at least to me. Okay, Damian won the title. Drew's going to win it in Scotland and get his moment there, and then we move on. Now with this new character, and now the fact that Punk said, I'll be in Scotland, we haven't seen Punk in a while, which makes you think he's going to make his return there. There is a good possibility that he screws Drew and Damian retains. In my opinion, it's kind of ass backwards to do that in his home country where Punk's going to get booed out of the building if he does that. But then he's going to come back to the States and be the biggest babyface. It's going to be the weirdest dynamic. I mean, I think he'll at least try to cost him. I don't know about Damian as world champion. I I will say I appreciate with guys like Cody and Priest that they're putting the belts on guys who have never been world champions. So it's kind of like fresh because we've dealt with the past year like Roman and Seth as champions, and it's been kind of like a been there, done that. We've seen Roman and Seth be pushed for years. So to see guys like Priest and then Cody, obviously, like different people, it's cool. I'm not the biggest fan of Priest as champion. And it's no disrespect to him and his worth ethic. I appreciate it. He just doesn't, to me, have that aura that Drew does. He just doesn't. His character's interesting because it seems like we're leaning towards a babyface turn at some point. I just don't know about Priest heading into SummerSlam as champion. He just doesn't feel like big enough of a champion to headline or be one of the headliners to me. I think Drew's character is way more interesting. I think I'd rather see him versus Punk versus Gunther in like a triple threat. And I'll probably talk all about this next week too, but I'd rather see that than like Damian Gunther. I just think Drew's stuff is more interesting. It's more compelling. Drew has a better aura and a more of an aura. And if you fuck over Drew in his home country, you did this once against Roman. You're going to do this again? I understand it's his character arc of him getting screwed. But my thing is, when is he going to get his moment? Is he never going to get it again? Like, when is he going to finally get his moment if he doesn't win in Scotland? How can you think you thought beating Roman in Cardiff was good? Winning in his home freaking country is even better. Like, are you like, what's going to be a better scenario? Are they going to go back next year and then Drew wins? I just don't know how long you could hold this off. And the fact that I definitely think Gunther's going to win the title pretty soon, I'd like to at least see this heel Drew as a champion actually reign as a champion. Just not interested in Damian as champ, in my opinion. No disrespect to him, just my 2 cents. Ring discoveries. I mean, I've talked about this throughout, but Roman Reigns is projected to return around July. I'm guessing a little bit like after Money in the Bank. I think I could pull up like the official article. Pretty much all these articles are like, I think Dave Meltzer bringing it up. And his return would allow WWE to extend that solo storyline of Paul Heyman and anticipating of Roman being a big baby face. I think, like I said, I think July is like the return. Seems like right after Money in the Bank, they're going to bring him back to build him up because I think he's shooting that movie with Keanu Reeves, but I think it ends next week. So it makes sense. And I've said this before, they kind of need Roman Reigns, not as champion, but they kind of need that aura again on SmackDown because besides Cody, it's kind of been lacking a little bit on SmackDown, especially with the fact that Logan Paul's not around. So I'm very anticipated to see a potential babyface Roman Reigns. I'm so fucking excited for that. I mean, I love Cody, but Roman's probably still my boy and still my favorite right now. And he's been my favorite ever since his return. So I'm so excited to see it. Let's go to Chad Gable's contract situation. And these contract situations, man, I don't want to call out whoever's in charge of negotiations and say fire them, but I am concerned as shit for what the fuck they are doing. Why are they waiting till so soon when they expire to do this? It happened with Drew this year. It's happening with Gable. We're going to talk about Becky. Why are they waiting so long to do these contracts? I just don't understand why they have to wait till the last minute. So Gable's deal has not expired yet. He has yet to sign a new contract. Meltzer says that WWE doesn't want Gable to depart. The odds are relatively small that he's leaving. I think next week at some point it expires, but the fact, or maybe around Clash at the Castle or afterwards, because he's promoted and advertised for a match against Sami Zayn. So hard for me to believe him leaving, especially with the character he has, and with him and Otis. And I just realized I forgot to talk about that. I can't believe I forgot to talk about that on Raw. I think I forgot to mention that. Did I forget? Yeah, I did. That was the one part I skipped is probably the storyline I'm the most interested in because I never thought I'd be invested in like any Alpha Academy breakups. But Otis might be the most over guy, not only on Raw, but WWE right now. Dude, when Sammy mentioned him and told him to stand up for himself, holy crap. And Gable is, I've been saying it so many times, but he is smashing it as a heel. The fact that he made Maxine read like a letter basically from Gable shitting on everybody, including making fun of herself, like calling her like a knockoff Barbie. Oh my God, man. So I guess for people who, including me, who wanted Gable to dethrone Gunther, this was probably the better decision because Perk Gable, oh my God. And I definitely think Gable should win the title soon. And I've been saying this all day today. Call me crazy. I want Gable versus Otis at SummerSlam for the Intercontinental title. I don't necessarily want Otis to win. I don't know about Otis as a champion and how far he can go with that. I think a win from Gable against Otis can give him massive heat and just build his character even more. And I'd love to see a decent title reign from Gable because I just think that's money. And people could say all they want about Otis, like, oh, he's not a draw or whatever. It's probably one of the best stories WWE has right now. And it's crazy because Otis had an amazing storyline with Mandy Rose, but that was back when COVID happened. So he couldn't get any pop when the moment happened. Now he can finally, when he eventually turns on Gable, the place is going to go apeshit. And like I said, how can you not do a title match between them? People want to see Otis kick this guy's ass. On Raw, he chose sides with Sammy. I loved how Sammy and Gable were bickering. Again, with Gable's heel work. When he shoved Sammy into Maxine and Tozawa, Gable was like, did you see what he did, Otis? Did you see what he did? Just the manipulating was so genius. And the fact that Otis fell for it. Oh, so good. I mean, you just got to give Gable that belt, man. And you better freaking resign this guy because he's been killing it. Becky Lynch is officially a free agent, but I don't think that's like anything to panic about because apparently I think she's set to get one of the largest contract offer in women's history. She is officially a free agent, but apparently she is going to be gone for a while, like a long, long while. It makes sense because I think Seth's going to be out for a while too. So they're going to be home with their child, and good for them. They both deserve it. I said it last week. I think the only reason why Becky came back is for Liv to legit beat for the belt because Rhea was out. I feel like she was going to take her break after Mania. I guess good for Becky, even if the reign was like a few weeks. At least she gets that on her accolade. But her and Gable, it's not really that big of news because I just don't see either one of them going anywhere. But it's something to acknowledge. But let's finish this off with the Takedown Top 5. And it is going to be WWE returns I've ever watched. And I've said this before, but just in case you guys are new, I've started watching in 2015. So it's going to be from that point on. It's very more recent because there wasn't that many groundbreaking returns in like the first few years I watched, but like the past like 5 or so. Oh yeah, baby. And we'll start with, I've mentioned this moment so many times on lists, but number 5 is the Roman Reigns return in 2020 and the Tribal Chief era truly beginning. Considering around COVID when they were in the Thunderdome, that rumors, there were no rumors. There was like nothing because no one was around backstage to speculate on anybody. No one expected Roman returning. This was when Roman said he couldn't be at WrestleMania 36 because of his leukemia. And yeah, I mean, we didn't know when the hell he was coming back. And he just came back at the most random of times, and it was perfect. And he beat up, rest in peace, The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and Braun Strowman. The best part of that whole return, besides Roman's amazing teeth, was his shit talking. The fact that plus the wreck everyone and leave and just his attitude. Like, I remember watching that. We didn't know if he was officially a heel yet until the Heyman stuff. But we knew this wasn't the big dog. We knew this was something else when he was shit talking. Like, this isn't the Roman we knew from back then. And that's what was amazing about this return. The only shame was the front of a bunch of computer screens and not people. Unlike this moment, the next year, that was in front of people. And that's number 4, John Cena confronting Roman Reigns. Me and my friends, including Matt and Troy, who watched this with me, went nuts when Cena came out. I think there were potential rumors. And the moment that Roman grabbed the mic, I believe it was after him and Edge had a great match in Money in the Bank 2021. You kind of knew something was going down. But still, the place went nuts. Probably the loudest pop Cena's had in his career. From a rejected as hell face of the company to now finally being so respected. It's so feel good, especially for fans of Cena, that people finally appreciate him. Perfect guy to come after to Roman. Even if the feud was short, maybe a little disappointing, Roman just beat him at SummerSlam. The moment itself was absolutely incredible and a great way to end that pay-per-view. And it was the first, I think Mania 37 was the first in front of fans in a long time, but then Money in the Bank was the first pay-per-view that they were bringing back and for good in front of people. Great way to end it. Number 3 is Cody Rhodes' return to the WWE. I mean, this one we all knew was happening. It was the fact that it felt like a Marvel crossover type thing, where he has the same AEW gimmick, the same theme, the same look and everything, and it's at WrestleMania. That's what made the return incredible. And good on Cody, because he said in so many interviews, because people tried to get him to have a new theme song, Cody's like, nope, we're keeping Kingdom. And good on you, dude, for doing that, because that's just what made the moment so much more special. The fact that we got an entire gimmick from another company in WWE. There's been so many WWE to AEW debuts and returns. This is one of the few, we'll get to the other one very soon, AEW to WWE moves. And it was just incredible. And he proved to be the face of the company that he is today. And he's one of my favorite wrestlers. Probably number 2 on my list, because Roman's still my 1. But yeah, great return. Speaking of AEW WWE, number 2, CM Punk's shocking return in 2023. It's not number 1 just because of, I love Punk as a performer, but I've had problems with him doing all the backstage drama shit, which who knows if he's the victim of both those situations, but I still am not a fan of what he did. So that's why it's not exactly number 1. And despite me not being maybe the biggest fan of his recently, still, the return, my God, this was nothing but speculation. Meltzer, no one could actually report Punk's in the building. There was nothing. You just had to guess. And I was in denial. I'm like, there's no way Punk's coming back. There's no way WWE is going to want that baggage. Well, Triple H didn't care, man. Hell froze over, and Punk came back to WWE. One of the loudest pops. Punk coming out to the remix of Cult of Personality that I think came out that day. At first, I wasn't a fan of it, but now listening to it when I work out and stuff, I actually low-key dig the remix version of his song. Kind of has a concert-like feel to when he comes out. I mean, it was just goosebumps all around. My God, man. The AEW return was one thing, but we knew it was coming. It was highly speculated. This we never thought would ever happen. Him coming back to WWE with Triple H as one of his damn bosses. Wow. Just amazing. Still can't believe it. And hopefully Punk will be back soon and better than ever. But it's not going to beat this moment. Number 1 is Edge returning after 9 years. I understand that people were speculating this as well. Again, speculations ruin a lot of shit. And I think Edge even had to tweet out, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. I'm happy that I didn't believe it was going to happen, because it just made that moment even better. Just with the next stuff, I was like, there's no way. There's no way he's coming back. And even if he does, it might be a one-time thing. Who, baby, it's not, because he is still wrestling to this day. Unfortunately, injured now, but my God, like me, Matt, and Troy. I think that might still be one of my favorite maybe my favorite wrestling moment I've ever watched, especially with them. And I've watched with Matt and Troy for years now at this point. This still might be number one. We went nuts. We were running around my basement. Oh my God, man. We never thought this would happen. The theme, the goosebumps, the crowd, the pyro, just everything was perfect. Edge's emotional face. He looked more ripped than ever, the best shape of his career. The long hair was back. Just everything about that was good, except that they fucking cut off the camera after the first spear he gave when he ever since he came back to Ziggler, and stupid Kevin Dunn cut to a fan. They edited that out on Peacock, but they edited it out, and we were like, that kind of like took the moment away for a bit. Luckily, Kevin Dunn's the fuck out of that company now. And his Mr. Oh, I got to cut to this shot instead of just letting the shot play out type mentality. But still, didn't take away from the moment. Just amazing. And that Rumble itself, too, is just probably my favorite Rumble I've still ever watched. It's going to be hard to top that. And I don't think it's going to be pretty tough to top that return. I don't think it's ever going to happen, considering he was out for 9 years. And even not watching at the time, never really watched Edge because I didn't watch till 2015. I watched back his stuff and just how great of a character he was with the Rated R Superstar, how he started with Edge and Christian and became the guy he is. Just inspiring stuff, man. And it's an honor to like watch him on pay-per-views, because it did suck. Same with like him and Punk, two guys who I really didn't watch because they were both gone by the time I started. It feels so good to watch them both, especially Edge again. It just feels so good. And it feels good. And I know it feels good for them too to be doing it, because they both have tremendous passion for the business. But that's my takedown top 5. And that's going to do it for this episode here. Like I said, really hope next week can get like a live, like in-person thing with Matt and Troy. If not, it'll probably just be me again doing predictions. It won't be the same background. It's going to be somewhere in Pittsburgh. Who knows where, but that's going to do it for the 13th rendition of WrestleMan with the podcast. I hope you guys have a safe weekend. Have a good night, and I will see you guys next week.